What if the thing you have been trying to fix isn't your life at all? What if it's the lens you have been using to look at it? Hey, beautiful humans, welcome back to I Awaken. This is the space where we stop chasing one big awakening moment and start building a whole new inner operating system. One choice, one truth, and one breath at a time. Today's conversation is real, tender, and honestly kind of legendary because we are talking about the difference between wanting your pain to stop versus learning how to stop partnering with it. My guest today is Susan Michel, a author, suicide prevention advocate, and a two-time suicide attempt survivor who found her way back through a spiritual practice rooted in a course in miracles. Her work is about identifying unhealed emotional pain so healing can actually happen, not as a cute quote on a mug, but as lived transformation. And she teaches something I strongly believe. Forgiveness and gratitude are not nice ideas, they are high impact tools with actual ROI for your nervous system and your relationships. Quick note before we begin: if you're struggling with suicidal thoughts or you're worried about someone you love, please reach out for support right now. In the US, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free and available 24/7. In India, ASRA maintains a directory of suicide prevention helplines, and you can also go to your nearest hospital or call local emergency services. You matter and support exists. So, Suzanne, welcome to I Awaken. I'm genuinely grateful you are here.
Thank you, Archita. It is great to be here. I look forward to our conversation.
Me too, me too. So amazing. Let's get into it, Suzanne. Yeah. So, you've said something that hits hard, that you didn't really want to die. You wanted to end the pain. So when you look back now, what was the pain actually trying to tell you?
Yeah, what happened? A lot happened way back when I was 20 years old when I attempted suicide twice. And so much led up to that time in my life. My parents never taught me how to feel the negative or painful feelings. So, because I didn't have the tools to process and feel those feelings, I ended up repressing those feelings in my unconscious mind. So when we repress our pain, when we don't allow ourselves to feel our feelings, those painful feelings end up guiding our life. So they were just so many painful, negative feelings suppressed in my unconscious mind that I had no access to the truth of who I was on the other side of them. I had no access to the joy on the other side of them. I had no access to my true guidance. So I felt blocked. I felt completely blocked and shut down. I mean, that's really what depression is. I went through a major depression. I was completely shut down. Um, I ingested 6 bottles of sleeping pills at the age of 20. When those sleeping pills were in my system, I realized, just as you so accurately said, I didn't really want to die. I just wanted to kill the pain. I wanted to allow the pain to come up, and I wanted to be able to release it, but I didn't have the tools. I was never taught as a child tools to to process the pain. Because in my household, it was all about denial. It was all about pretending that everything was fine. But there were just so many painful emotions under the surface that no one knew how to process. The second chapter of my book is entitled Sitting with Pain to Feel Our Joy. And although it is uncomfortable, it is such a necessary first step. And I start that chapter with the line from one of my favorite poems, The Invitation by Araya Mountain Dreamer. What she writes in the middle of her poem is she writes, "I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it." And that's what I needed to do before I attempted suicide. I needed to sit with the pain, but the pain was just so far down in my unconscious mind, I didn't even know how to allow myself to own it.
Yeah, that really hits hard. But when you really look into it, nobody actually wants to die, do they? It's just the same. They want the pain to end. But that only happens, like you said, when you actually acknowledge the pain that it's there and you have to deal with it, no matter how painful that is. And I'm glad that you did that and you're helping other people do that as well, which is amazing. So, Suzanne, for someone listening who feels trapped in that same internal chaos, who doesn't know how to sit with it, what's the first low lift but high impact step for them to separate pain from identity?
We need to learn how to slow down in life. A lot of times the world teaches us to keep busy and active and go, go, go. So, one thing that is important to do is to pause, learn to um, acknowledge the emotions that we are feeling. I think that when people can learn to spend a few minutes in the morning in a quiet mindset, a meditative mindset, I think that helps us to feel whatever feelings are in our psyche. I think that journaling is a wonderful practice to get into. I mean, I wrote a book, Surrender to Joy. I think writing is wonderful. Journaling is a little different, though. I think journaling is when you just start writing on paper whatever thoughts come to mind, and then you'll find as you start to write, and don't monitor yourself when you journal. Just allow whatever feelings you're feeling to go from your head to the paper. That's a wonderful way to get in touch what's inside of us is through journaling. I think that speaking to friends, a good friend, can help us to bring emotions to the surface. I also do believe in psychology and counseling. I was in seeing a therapist, a psychologist for many years, and she helped me get in touch with feelings inside of me that I needed to acknowledge. Um, even I think the universe talks to us in our dreams. I remember when I was seeing a psychologist, what I would do is I would wake up in the morning and I had a pad of paper next to my bed, and I would write down my dreams. And I think that's another wonderful way to get in touch with internal feelings that need to come out. So those are a few steps. And something else that happens is the universe wants us to grow. The universe, we're all born into this world with I believe, wounds, with pain points that need to be processed. This world is a classroom. We're here to grow closer to the truth of who we are. We're here to release those pain points. So the universe will trigger us throughout the day. When we have something inside of us that needs to be felt in order to be healed, what happens in life is we get triggered through external events. So when something on the outside causes us to feel angst, we need to, instead of blame that person, instead of blame that event, notice that we're feeling we're feeling uncomfortable, and then take responsibility for the trigger. So if something happens on the outside, if somebody on the outside criticizes me, instead of getting angry at that person who criticized me, it's important to stop and try to uncover what it is within me that still needs healing. I mean, for me, I had a very critical father, and that's something that is still in the process of healing itself. So when I face criticism from the outside, it does hurt me more because there are still childhood wounds that are not fully healed. So just living life, when we get, like, triggers in life are our teachers. So instead of blaming external circumstances for our pain, it's important to take responsibility for our life and try to uncover what that outside trigger is teaching me about myself, because the universe wants to heal me. The universe is a classroom, and triggers are our teachers. And as I started with, slow down. One of the most important things that people can do is slow down. And it's a process. It's a process.
Absolutely. And that is so important. I mean, like you said, pain is a part of everyone's life and pain is real, but it doesn't have to be your brand. It isn't your forever story. It's data and we can work with data. And yeah, talking with someone helps, whether it's your friends, your family members, your loved ones, or even a diary. So, yeah, I think that helps. And definitely, I agree with whatever you said about self reflection. Sometimes I think healing is an inner work. So, it requires inner work. So, you have to really look inside that what's really bothering me. Maybe it's not about them, but it's about you. So, I think, yeah, the healing begins with that. Moving on, Suzanne, a lot of people hear a course in miracles and assume it's abstract or only for a certain type of spiritual person. But in plain language, what is it actually teaching us to do day to day?
A Course in Miracles is mind training. It is teaching us to love, and love is the truth about who we are. It is a metaphysical text. It is Christian in statement. um, it was scribed, between the years of, 19 it was published in 1972, so it was scribed, I think, between 1966 and 1972 through a woman by the name of Helen Schuckman. She collaborated with Bill Thetford. They were both professors of medical psychology, at Columbia University in Manhattan, and people who believe the text, like myself, believe these were the words of Jesus Christ. And it is telling us that love is our true nature. So it teaches us how to remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, because love is who we are. It cannot teach us who we are, but it can help us to identify the blocks. So when the blocks come up, we can choose to let them go. It says right here in the introduction, which is a very, probably the most important point that I could talk about. It says the course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. And then it says it can be very simply summed up in this way: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So the only thing that is real is the love. God is always with me. I am a part of him, and when I can remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, then I will become a conduit for miracles. I will allow God's voice to speak through me. And that's what a miracle is. When I can remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, when I can tune in and listen to the words of God, which I am a part of. I am a part of God. God is not outside of me. God is greater than me, but he is something that I am a part of. And when I can release the blocks, I can allow God's wisdom and words to speak through me to my brother. And that's what a miracle is. And that's the only way that I can experience happiness here on earth. At each and every moment, I have a choice. I have love, and the Course in Miracles describes everything that is not love is fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. So the fear is not real, but when I can identify this negative illusion, I can release it. And once I can release the fear, then I get back in touch with my true nature. My true nature is one of love, and that is the only thing that is going to make me happy. The only thing is that is going to bring joy to my mind is connecting with the truth of who I am. Course in Miracles, calls that God. You don't have to call that God, but again, A Course in Miracles is Christian in statement, but it is closer. Well, it is the truth. It's. I think there are a few misinterpretations that come into religious dogma, and A Course in Miracles is uh, actually pointing out the way that the Bible over the years has been misinterpreted. And it is one path to heaven. What is heaven? Heaven is a place of peace, love, joy, and happiness. So the Course in Miracles is not the only path, but it is one clear path to peace, love, joy, and happiness. And A Course in Miracles tells us that what it does, because we all have the truth within us. So A Course in Miracles' goal is to guide us to find our own internal teacher. A Course in Miracles is not the end. A Course in Miracles is the beginning. It's the beginning of a clear path that is based on love.
That is, I love that explanation. I mean, it's very important to know that. And of course, A Course in Miracles, it sounds amazing because the core idea of it is love, right? That everything comes from love, and then it brings us closer to God. So I think this is amazing. And yeah, we are not trying to collect spiritual vocabulary, so that's why I loved how you explained that in such a simple way. We are trying to ship real change into real life, and I think A Course in Miracles is exactly, it's just what we need, right? So you mentioned blocks when you were talking about A Course in Miracles. So you also talk about blocks to love that we unconsciously create. So, what are the most common blocks you see in people, especially in high functioning folks who look fine on the outside?
We each have different blocks. Uh, they are based on childhood wounds that were not processed at the time they were inflicted. Um, I think my personal two of my personal core pain points are abandonment and betrayal. And I actually think those are two of the most common blocks. Uh, I had a father who was not emotionally available to me. So, what this created a deep desire to connect with a man, a deep desire to connect with other people because my father didn't know how to connect with me. Um, so what I did for years and years in order to overcome this pain point or overcome this fear is I would choose men who were emotionally unavailable. So I would choose unavailable men because I was afraid of being abandoned, but that's what they did. They abandoned me because they were unavailable, and that's really where my lesson lay. My lesson lay in just connecting to that feeling of abandonment, and only by connecting to the feeling of being completely alone could I see that it had no power over me. It was just not true. It was something that I made up in my own mind because of my dysfunctional family. And I think that's true for so many people. Our core pain points originate in our family dynamics. And it's only by stepping into the pain, um, that's the only way that we can find out that it has no power over us. So you asked me what were the most common ones. I think a lot of people have abandonment and betrayal issues. Not everyone, but those are the two of the most common ones that I can think of. But it's only by stepping into that pain that we can see that it's just not true. If it's negative, it's an illusion, but we have to feel it to see that it has no power over us. I recited the first line, in the second chapter of my book about how important it is to own the pain. I want to know if you can sit with I want to know if you can feel the pain, yours and mine, without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it, right? So that's about owning the pain. Well, what's on the other side of the pain? The joy is on the other side of the pain. And A Course in Miracles is telling us that is what God wants for us. We are supposed to experience joy. And after we can sit with the pain, there is so much joy to look forward to. So the next line in the invitation poem states, I want to know if you can dance with joy, yours and mine, if you can allow the ecstasy to fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. And all that joy is waiting for us on the other side of the pain. The pain is not real, but we have to allow it to come to the surface in order to release it. So that's something fun to look forward to, right?
Definitely, it is. It is. And like you just said, I absolutely agree. I think a lot of our traumas, I think it stems from our family and what we what we don't find inside our families, we try to look for them outside in the world, and I think that results in a lot of trauma further. So yeah, family in a lot of ways shapes us and shapes the way we look at the world later on in life. It's very important to acknowledge all the childhood trauma and abandonment. I agree. Yes, abandonment is one of the most common blocks you see in people. Even for me, I don't understand these stuffs a lot, but you can look at people and understand certain things. And yeah, I think that's absolutely true. But A Course in Miracles, it sounds amazing, like I said before, and I think it is going to help a lot of our listeners too. And on that note, Suzanne, if our listeners who want to know more about the Course and Miracles or connect with you after this podcast, how can they do that? Could you share with them?
My website is www.surrendertojoy.net. It is surrendertojoy.net. My book is Surrender to Joy: From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles. There are links to buy my book on my website. My book is also available on Amazon. And if anyone has any personal questions, or if anyone wants, I do some Course in Miracles coaching, counseling. My email is susanmichel88 at gmail.com. They can always reach out to me directly. SUSANMICHEL 88 at gmail.com.
Great. I'll have all the details on my show listing, and our listeners are free to reach out to you whenever and however they want to. So, dear listeners, if today's episode hit something in you, don't just nod and move on. Take this as your sign to do one small, brave thing. Here's a mini challenge for the next 24 hours. Pick one block to love you notice in yourself. Maybe it's resentment, self criticism, people pleasing, or the need to be right. Write it down, then ask yourself, what is this protecting me from feeling? Secondly, what would love do instead in one tiny doable action? Then actually do the action. Send the text, take the walk, apologize, set the boundary, choose peace over performance. And if you're in a rough place right now, please reach out for support. You do not have to white knuckle your way through life alone. And Suzanne, thank you for your courage and your clarity. To everyone listening, if this episode gave you even one pixel of relief, share it with someone who needs that reminder today. And make sure you're subscribed to I Awaken so you don't miss what's next. Until next time, keep choosing the path back to yourself, one moment at a time.